Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are talking about the Hourglass holiday palettes, and I'm about to give you all of the information I could possibly give you about this year's Hourglass holiday collection without having the actual palettes with me. I will even try the entirety of the horse palette, okay? I technically have the horse palette with me. We'll try the horse palette today before you purchase it, and I will talk to you guys as in-depth as I can about the fox palette, the deer palette, and the swan palette. If you're watching this video, it means the collection has officially been released, and so the link to shop this new Hourglass holiday palette collection is down below in the description box of this video. I might have the palette link throughout as well, and I will pin a comment underneath the video with the links to this collection. So if you want to shop the collection, it's available now. Head to my link. Whenever you shop from my links, it helps out my channel, and if there's any discount codes available, which I highly doubt, but if by any chance there's a discount code available, I'll also leave it for you in that comment and in the description box of the video. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. The first three palettes that were announced this year were the deer palette, the horse palette, and the fox palette. The deer palette being the lightest of the three, horse being the mid-tone palette, and the fox palette being the deepest. But then afterwards we got a fourth palette that was revealed to us, and that was the swan palette. Let's start with the deer palette, which is the lightest of the palettes that are going to be released this year. This palette has two finishing powders, it has one bronzer, it has one highlighter, and it has two blushes. We're gonna go shade by shade, starting with the top left color, and that is a finishing powder in the shade Dream Light, which is not a new finishing powder. In fact, it was in the lightest palette we got last year, which was the Dragon palette. The Dragon palette also has the shade Dream Light in it. It is a beautiful finishing powder, perfect for light complexions, but alas, it's not a new shade, so you might already have it in your collection. The second shade is called Aura Light, and Aura Light is a new shade. It is also a finishing powder. The name of it, Aura Light, sounds delightful to me, and I honestly cannot wait to try it. The third shade, we have the bronzer, which is called Diffused Bronze Light, and that is not a new shade. In fact, it is one of the most popular Hourglass bronzer, and it's always available in a single form. It's a bronzer with a beautiful marble effect, not too much glittery shine in it, but it's also not a matte bronzer, and it has a beautiful neutral undertone. I wish I had it so I could swatch it for you the way I will swatch the shades that I do own from this palette. I wanted to let you know though that it is not a new shade, but it is one of the most popular Hourglass bronzers, and with reason. It is a beautiful one, and it will be mine because I will be purchasing the deer palette this year. Of course, I will review and try all of the shades for you as soon as it arrives today. I'll show you what I can. Fourth shade, which is the highlighter. This highlighter is called Iridescent Strobe Light, and it is also not a brand new shade, but it's also not a shade that I have in my collection. The palette that had this shade in it was an ambient edit lighting palette from 2015. I don't think I started collecting my palettes that early on, so unfortunately I don't have that one with me. But not only has this one been in an older palette of Hourglass, this is also a very popular Hourglass shade that you've been able to get in single form for years now. They have 4 single highlighters, and Iridescent Strobe Light is one of them. Moving on to the fifth shade, that is a blush in the shade Radiant Peach, and that is a brand new shade. It looks exactly as the name describes it. It looks like a radiant peachy shade, and I think it's going to be perfect for anyone with a light or medium complexion. And then the last shade is also a blush, and it is the blush in the shade Vibrant Pink. It looks like a beautiful Barbie pink type shade. It's also a new shade, and like I said, I will be purchasing the deer palette, so as soon as I have it with me, I will swatch it and try it for you on camera so you can see it. This is one of the ones that I'm pretty excited about. Not only does it have an iconic bronzer and highlighter shade that I don't already own in my collection, but it also has 2 new blushes that I'm very excited about. It has a brand new marbled finishing powder, which I don't remember having seen a marbled finishing powder ever. And then the only shade that I do own from this one, like I told you guys, is from the Dragon palette last year, and it is this finishing powder here, which is called Dream Light. And it is a beautiful translucent finishing powder that works wonders like right under the eyes or on the cheeks, or just like as a buffer all over, because Hourglass powders have the divine effect of like blurring everything on the skin. So the Dear palette is definitely a really good one, and I am very excited to try it. So you know that now that it's out, I probably already placed my order, you know. Let's move on to the mid-tone palette, which is the Horse palette. And from the Horse palette, I have every single shade, so I will be trying it on camera for you. I will be swatching it for you, and that way you can see whether or not you're interested in the Horse palette. Because I have every single shade from the Horse palette, and because they released 4 different palettes this year, I think the Horse palette is the one that I'll personally be skipping on, because it has beautiful shades. You're about to see, I'm about to swatch them and try them for you. If you don't have them, I recommend it. However, because I already have every single shade, I'm going to save my budget for the remaining 3 palettes in this collection. So let's talk about the Horse palette. The first shade in the Horse palette is a finishing powder in the shade Soft Light, and you can find the shade Soft Light in the Elephant palette from a few years ago. It is this shade right here in the middle. And Soft Light is not only in the Elephant palette, Soft Light is a pretty popular, pretty common Hourglass shade, so it might be in other palettes you might have in your collection as well. My favorite thing about the shade Soft Light is that it has a beautiful yellowish undertone to it that I find really helps to brighten underneath the eyes. You know, Hourglass does not swatch the best when it comes to their finishing powders and blushes, but I'm going to do my best to swatch it for you. So here is the shade Soft Light, which you can find in the Horse palette. The second color from the Horse palette is the shade Mood Exposure, and if you have the Leopard palette from a couple of years ago, you have Mood Exposure in your collection. It is this color right here, this beautiful marbled mauvey light rosy tone. Take a look right there at what it looks like on my finger. And Mood Exposure is one of my favorite shades from Hourglass, because I love a soft dusty rose type of blush, and that is exactly what this one is. Take a look right there. I love it. It's fantastic. Very happy that they brought this one back, because it's one of my favorites. The third shade in the Horse palette is a highlighter shade, and this one is called Supernatural Strobe Light, and you can find this one in the first Hourglass palette I ever bought, and the oldest one in my collection, which is the Lighting Edit Universe palette. Take a look at it right here. This is what it looks like, and the shade Supernatural Strobe Light is this highlighter right down here, which has a nice sheen to it, but it's not overly glittery or overly dramatic as far as a highlighter is concerned. Take a look right there. It has a few visible sparkly bits to it that you can definitely kind of see, but it doesn't look over the top in my opinion. Check it out right there. See, you see the sheen, the very natural sheen, and then there's a few little bits of extra sparkle in there. Like I said, I'm going to be putting it on my face in a minute. Don't worry. Let me just swatch all 6 shades and we'll get to trying it on. The fourth shade is called Iridescent Coral, and for that one we are going back to the Elephant palette, and it is this stunning shade right here in the middle. It is such a stunning, slightly shiny, brightish coral shade. I love it. Take a look right here. I really love this one, and it's got a beautiful coral base to it and like teeny tiny, barely visible but still there bits of a gold sparkle to it. It's beautiful. The fifth shade is called Iridescent Rose, and you can find that shade in the Tiger palette. It's this beautiful marbled rose color right here, and it's going to be the darkest blush out of the 3 that you can find in the Horse palette. Take a look. See, it's a bit darker. It has a bit more red in it in comparison with the other 2. Lastly, the Horse palette has a bronzer shade, and when it comes to Hourglass bronzers, I am a little bit on the picky side, and I don't particularly like the bronzers that have shimmer in them, and unfortunately that is, in my opinion, the downfall of the Horse palette. Not that it's a bad palette at all, but this is the thing that I like least about it, and it is the fact that the bronzer has a warm-ish undertone. It's not cool toned, and I don't think I could qualify it as neutral either. I think it's a bit more on the warm side, and that it has a bronzer formula in it that has some shimmer, which I don't love, but I do have it, so I'm going to swatch it for you before I try everything on. The bronzer is called Glistening Bronze Light, and you can find this bronzer in the Universe palette. It is this bronzer up here. It has a really good amount of pigment to it. I think it'll work on anyone with a fair to medium complexion. I'm gonna swatch it right here, and it's not a bad bronzer, but as you can see, it does have a bit more warmth to it, and it has like the teeniest tiniest bit of shine to it. I'm probably being dramatic about it. It's probably not that bad, but I just prefer them when they have no shine in them at all. So take a look right there. Here are the 6 shades from the Horse palette from Hourglass. I think it's a beautiful palette, and I overall really like the combination of the shades they chose for it. So before we move on to the Fox palette and the Swan palette, let's go ahead and put all of this on my face. As you can see, I do have a lot of my makeup already done. Because I knew that this bronzer was a bit more warm rather than cool tone, I not only did my foundation and concealer today, but I also applied a contour shade on my cheeks, forehead, and jawline. I used the one from Rare Beauty, which I love, very lightly. I didn't overdo it because I want the bronzer to show up nicely, but I did want a bit of sculpting underneath, so I went ahead and got that done. The first thing I'm going to be applying is the bronzer, and I'm just going to work it into my forehead and kind of buff it all around. Same thing over here. See how it immediately adds warmth to my cheek? Here's before and with the bronzer applied. Now, as you can see, it has a glowy finish to it, but there are no visible sparkles anywhere. So here's the bronzer applied. I don't mind the glowy finish of it as much as I mind the fact that I just think it's a bit too warm for my personal liking, but I can make it work. And also, if you're someone with a warmer complexion than me, it'll look stunning on you. We have 3 different blushes to choose from, so I'm going to see what I can do to show you all 3 of them. I'm going to start with Mood Exposure from the Leopard palette. I'm going to add it right here on this cheekbone, and you can see how it blends beautifully into the bronzer. And this one doesn't have any shine to it. It has the more natural finish that I prefer from Hourglass. It looks lovely. I'm gonna do the other side of the same brush, and I'm going to grab the shade Iridescent Coral from the Elephant palette. This one has a bit more of a glowy finish to it. I'm going to add it right over here on this cheekbone. The little bit of gold shine that this one has definitely shows up in a very glowy way when you apply this blush to your cheek. With a blush like this one, I don't feel the need to add a highlighter on top because I already have a nice glowy cheek with it. So here is Mood Exposure, and here is Iridescent Coral. And then I'm going to grab the shade Iridescent Rose from the Tiger palette, and I'm going to add it right like on the top part of the cheekbone because this one's a darker blush color. So right up here. So I'm going to add it on the higher part of both cheekbones. See how this goes from light Mood Exposure to a bit more reddish up here. This one has a tiny bit of glow to it, but nothing like the Iridescent Coral shade. It just looks like a healthy glow. For the finishing powder, I'm going to grab a smaller blending brush, and I'm going to grab it from the Elephant palette, and I'm going to buff. I'm going to buff from the under eye to where the blushes start. I'm going to buff it over my nose, and this finishing powder has a beautiful natural finish to it. I'm going to buff on the center of the forehead as well so that we transition even more subtly into the bronzer. And I'm even going to buff over the blushes and bronzer on my cheeks. That's one of the main beauties about the Hourglass finishing powders. They just make everything marry each other and come together so beautifully when you add them over the top. See how a minute ago everything was just a little bit more dramatic and now everything's more subtle? I love that. I love that about Hourglass's finishing powders. Anyways, we have one more shade to try, and that is the highlighter shade. It's called Supernatural Strobe Light, and I'm going to grab this Nikki Rose N16 brush to add it right on the top of my cheekbones here. It's not a very dramatic highlighter, and I like that about it. Take a look right there. And so this right here is my finished look using every single shade you will find in the Horse palette. If you're vibing with the way things are looking, absolutely go for it. You guys know Hourglass have incredible formulas. That's already a given. So it's just about the color combinations that they put in the palettes. So take a look right here. The Horse palette, meant for light to medium complexions. I feel like if you have a light complexion, you can make it work. If you have a medium complexion, you can absolutely make it work as well. And this is what all of the shades look like on me. So now that I've shown you the Horse palette in depth, let's go ahead and move on to the Fox palette. Now the Fox palette is one of the most exciting palettes in this collection because I believe it has the most new shades. The Fox palette has 5 new shades out of 6 shades in the entire palette. Starting with the highlighter in the shade Solar Glow, which as you can see is a beautiful golden highlighter. It looks kind of like it has a metallic sheen to it. Moving on to the only shade that is an already existing shade, and that is the blush in the shade Lucid Glow. Now Lucid Glow, even though it's an already existing shade from Hourglass, I don't own. So for me, every single shade in this palette is going to be brand new. Lucid Glow is a shade that you might have if you own the Ghost Ambient Lighting Blush Quad. So I'm safe, I don't own the shade Lucid Glow. Now it looks like a beautiful marbling muted peachy shade, and I'm absolutely here for that. Third shade is a finishing powder in the shade Desert Light. To me, this looks like a finishing powder for people with tan to dark complexions, which is beautiful. I don't necessarily think if you have a light complexion, you would be able to use it as a bronzer, but we'll see. Once I have it on my hands, I will test out that theory. Maybe it could be like a transition to bronzer shade, not necessarily a bronzer shade. I'll test it out however I can. Moving on to the bottom row, the first shade is a blush called Canyon Heat, and it looks like a beautiful terracotta-ish, muted terracotta-ish type blush with a natural finish to it. Second shade from the bottom row is a blush called Amethyst Haze, which looks a bit purple. It looks like it has a bit of a purple color to it. I think this would absolutely look stunning on someone with a dark complexion. I cannot wait to swatch it and test it, although I know this is not going to be a go-to blush for me. But for someone with a dark complexion or a tan complexion, this could be a very staple blush shade. And then the last shade is a bronzer, and it is the bronzer in the shade Bronze Fusion, which I'm confused from the picture. I'm not sure if it has a marbling effect to it or not. It looks like maybe a tiny bit of a marbling effect, and it looks like a bronzer with a natural finish to it. I don't believe this one will have sparkles. I could be mistaken, but it looks stunning, and hopefully it'll work for tan to dark complexions as well. We'll see, and I'll confirm once I have my hands on these palettes. Now, there is a fourth palette, like I told you at the beginning of the video. It is called the Swan palette. The Swan palette looks incredibly stunning. I think the outside packaging of the Swan palette might be my favorite. I love the white exterior with the beautiful flowers and the swan on it, and like the cool tone purpley blue hues of the swan look beautiful. From the Swan palette, I have 2 out of 6 shades. The first shade is a finishing powder. The finishing powder in the shade Dim Light, which you can find in the Elephant palette and many others. This one's also very, very popular. If you have anything Hourglass, you might have Dim Light in your collection. It is this tone right here. It's a beautiful neutral finishing powder. It doesn't have any rose in it. It doesn't have any yellow in it. It's just a stunning light color that will work on anyone from medium to fair complexions. The second shade you're looking at is a highlighter shade, and the color is called Golden Hour. It looks like a light gold highlighter, not as dark as the other gold highlighter we saw, and it also doesn't look as metallic. This one looks like a bit more of a subtle highlighter from the picture. I don't know, I haven't tried it. Third shade is a bronzer. I'm very excited that this bronzer is back because it is one of my favorite bronzers from Hourglass. The bronzer is called Natural Bronze, and you can find this bronzer in the Evil Eye palette from last year. It is this stunning bronzer right here, which is a cool tone bronzer, which works for light to medium complexions. And so it's going to give you not just a bit of color to your face, but it's also going to be this very flattering cool tone shade that beautifully sculpts your complexion as well as giving you that little bit of color. I really love the shade of bronzer that they picked for this one. It's not new, but it is one of the best in my opinion, and it doesn't have any shine to it. This one is a natural finish bronzer. It's perfection in my opinion, so I'm glad that they brought it back this year. The next three colors are all blushes, which you can see at the bottom row there, and they're all brand new. The first one on the left is called Luminous Coral, and it looks like a beautiful coral shade with a natural finish, no shine, no sparkle to that one. Middle shade is the lightest of the three. It is called Sunset Flush. It looks like a beautiful warm toned blush shade. Also doesn't look like it would have any sparkles or shine to it. And then the third blush to me looks a little out of place in this one because the rest of the colors look super light, and this blush looks pretty dark for me, but maybe that's just because I'm scared of blush. And this color blush, which by the way the name of it is Mauve Fusion, is for sure a shade of blush that I know that personally I'm not going to enjoy because it will remind me of my rosacea underneath. But it's here. It has a bit too much purple in there for me, but I feel like this blush would work beautifully for people all the way to maybe even a dark complexion, not just tan. So that right there is the beautiful Swan palette, which I think is the one that I personally am most excited about. But as I said, I'm not just going to be getting that one. I'm going to be getting 3 out of the 4 palettes to review for you. The horse palette I'm not getting because, as you saw, I already kind of have it, but I am going to be getting the Swan palette, the Fox palette, and the Deer palette so that I can test it and try it and tell you guys whether or not it is worth it. I hope that all of the information in this video was helpful to you and that you now have a better idea of what you want from this Hourglass release. If you're ready to shop for it, don't forget I have the link to this launch down below in the description box of this video. I have it on the pinned comment underneath the video as well. So head to their website and have a better look at everything we just talked about in today's video. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will be back with the actual palettes to swatch and try every single shade on my face for you. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye!